All right, good evening. It is 5:30 on June 22nd, 2022. This meeting of the Select Board is called to order. If everybody could stand and face the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we begin tonight, I do want to start off with some sad news. We learned over the weekend that two very active members of our community and two members who've been very involved with our town government unfortunately passed away. Martha Bewick and Sevy Strekalowski, who were very close friends of certainly all members of this board and all members of the town. And I just wanted to say to Martha, with respect to Martha, you know, she just did so much for so many different areas, whether it be historical preservation. She had a beautiful voice. She was a cantor and very involved at St. Paul's. But just very recently, we were in jeopardy of losing some of our public transportation here on the South Shore, and particularly with the ferry during COVID. And once again, Martha stepped up and was a wonderful advocate for the ferry and really helped us get through that time. And I will certainly remember her as a dear friend. And my heart goes out to Bill and Kathy tonight and her entire family. And likewise to Sevy Strekalowski. Sevy, his most recent service on the Master Plan Committee. But he has, as an architect, he has touched many buildings in this community and really left his mark on this community, not only through his professional work, but through his public service. And particularly during COVID, I live on North Street, he lives on North Street. He would walk almost every night right about 6 o'clock, and I would be on my porch, and he would walk by, and I would wave to him. We would kind of have a quick conversation in the distance, and just a dear friend, and my heart also goes out tonight to the Strekalowski family. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe if you'd like to add anything.
Thank you, Bill. Kind words. I was particularly close with Martha Reardon Buick and her husband, John Buick. John was a former Secretary of Environmental Affairs for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Martha's voice, astounding. Her commitment to the town, unwavering, and she will be tremendously missed. And Sevy, Bill, you mentioned that he worked on several buildings. He actually has the plans, did the plans on my building. And I look at those plans and I look at the work that he's done, not just here in my building, but throughout town. He's made an impact that will live beyond his life, and I miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Liz, would you like to add anything?
Sure. Thank you both for the kind words. Certainly it was heartbreaking news that we received over the weekend. Both Martha and Sevy have done so much for our town and leave such a beautiful legacy. They will certainly be sorely missed and serve as an inspiration to myself and I'm sure others. They literally served up to their final days. So we thank them and are certainly indebted to their families.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Are you both ready to proceed?
I am. I'd move to approve the minutes dated June 14th, 2022.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is to consider approval of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Vitamin C Brewing, LLC, for the summer solstice at World's End, to be held on Saturday, June 25th, 2022, with a rain date of Sunday, June 26th, 2022, from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And I know that we have Dino Finari here today, who's the owner of Vitamin C. So, Dino, if you can come up to the microphone, just state your name and address and tell us a little bit about your event.
Thank you, Board. Again, Dino Finari, the founder of Vitamin C Brewing. We're located at 30 Moore Road, Weymouth. And again, our application is for a one-day pouring permit for the summer solstice event put on by the trustees at World's End, located at 0 Martins Lane. The event will take place on Saturday, June 25th, from the hours of 4 to 9:30 p.m., with a rain date of June 26th, same hours. We'll be one of a handful of vendors that will be providing refreshments at the event. Myself and 2 other breweries will be there, as well as a few food trucks, and there'll be entertainment, music, and on site, and it will be a family-friendly event.
Excellent. Thank you, Dino. And this is your 3rd year in a row doing this?
I believe this is second at the summer solstice, although we've done other events with the trustees throughout Hingham and even downtown. We've done some events. So we appreciate the town's willingness to work with us. You guys have been fantastic. So
Great. Well, it sounds like a great event. I know it always is. So before we turn it over to my colleagues, let me just check with the town administrator. Tom, has the police department reviewed the application? Are there any concerns or
They
comments?
have, and there are no concerns.
Great. All right, Liz, any questions?
This is a wonderful event. I'm glad to see that it's back and coming up this weekend. So I've reviewed the application, no questions. I know the format is the same, and there's been no issues in the past, so thank you.
Joe?
Yep, I've reviewed the application. I think it's wonderful, and we do appreciate your commitment to our town, so thank you. No
thank you very
questions.
much.
All right. Thank you, Dino. Any members of the public wish to ask anything? Okay. All right. All right. With that, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Vitamin C Brewing LLC for the summer solstice at World's End to be held on Saturday, June 25th, 2022, with a rain date of Sunday, June 26th, 2022, from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there a need for further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Dino, good luck with your event. Good seeing you again.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it, Bill.
Thank
Have a
you.
good rest of the
luck.
week. Take care. All right, next item on the agenda is to consider approval of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Suddenly Simple Events for the Summer Harvest Dinner, a farm-to-table benefit event to be held at the Hingham Community Center on Sunday, June 26, 2022, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we have Michelle Lifton here to make the presentation.
Yes.
Welcome.
I'm Michelle Lifton, and I'm here on behalf of the owner of Suddenly Simple Events, and it's a fundraiser on Sunday at the Community Center for Magical Mood Farms, which is, they support children with cancer and other life-threatening diseases, and so it is a fundraiser for them, and it's also an event for everything's gluten-free, celiac-friendly. It's vegan. It's quite an extensive menu, and it runs from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Hingham Community Center. And I will be serving. That's why I wanted to appear here today. Wine, mocktails, and malt beverages, and we don't expect too many. It's an adult-only kind of very low-key event.
Great. Let me just ask the town administrator, has the police department reviewed this event as well?
Same, I've talked to the chief, and there are no concerns.
Okay, great. All right, I'll turn to my colleagues with any questions or concerns. Joe?
I see that you've got about 30 to 50 expected attendees for the
Yes.
event.
We have about 41 at this time.
Oh, great. I assume there's not an issue with parking?
No, we have all the staff that will be working. There's about 15 staff are carpooling, and then with parking, I'm not sure if, I think it'll be a problem. It's a lot of couples. We've sold
Right.
them as tickets, so I don't expect a lot of parking issues.
I mean, I've reviewed the application, and I have no concerns or questions. Thank you.
Great. Liz?
I've reviewed the application as well. I notice it says indoor. Is the whole party indoors, or are you
Yes,
using
as
any
far as I know,
outdoor
yes.
space?
I believe we're using all indoor space.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. We certainly love to see the events at the community center, and I'm familiar with the Magical Moon Foundation. It's a wonderful, wonderful foundation, so thank you.
Okay.
No further questions.
All right, with that, I will take a motion.
I guess there's no public comment.
Well, there's no public comment.
no public,
There's
okay.
no public to make any comment.
Then, I'll move to approve the request for a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Suddenly Simple Events for the Summer Harvest Dinner, a farm-to-table benefit event to be held at the Hingham Community Center on Sunday, June 26, 2022, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there a need for further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, Michelle, good luck
Thank
with
you,
your
board.
event.
Thank you.
All right, since we are moving quickly ahead on our agenda here, I'm going to move to Select Board and Town Administrator reports. Okay, so why don't we start with Town Administrator reports? So Art, anything to report this evening?
Not this evening.
All right, Michelle
Nothing for me, thank you.
and Tom.
Sure, just a quick update on COVID. So last Thursday, the CDC has determined that Plymouth County is now in a low status, down from high. If you remember a few weeks ago when we were back masked in the building, it's now gone from low to medium, high to medium, down to low again. So that was reported on June 7th, which is a great news for the town. I would ask that everybody remain vigilant, stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccines, and certainly get tested if you have any symptoms. Just FYI, we did receive about 9,000 additional test kits from the federal government, so we have those. They're being distributed accordingly. As we did before, they'll be available in the same ways that they always have been. So that's through the senior center. They can call or go into the health department downstairs. The library will have some, et cetera. So they'll be available in any number of ways to the general public who is looking for any. They can certainly call our office, and we'd be happy to get them as well. And then the last thing I'll note is that the CDC has recently approved vaccines for children. I would recommend that parents reach out to their pediatricians and determine what's right for them and their family. Review the CDC and the DPH websites for any guidance on that.
Great.
That's all I got.
Tom, thank you. All right, Select Board reports. Liz, you want to start tonight?
Sure, just one thing to report. We certainly had a busy weekend, but I had the honor of attending the retirement ceremony for Reverend Ken Reed Brown. It was a wonderful celebration of his many years of community service and his 35 years of service at Old Ship Church.
Excellent. Joe?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Only thing I want to report is Friday is the last day of school for everybody in Hingham, so congratulations. I know my kids are very excited to be done with school and have summer start, so. All right, so our next item is going to be a joint session with the Rec Commission, so that is 15 minutes away. So with that, I would take a motion to stand in adjournment until 6 o'clock.
I believe the chair would just say we are in adjournment.
We are adjourned, okay. Then we are adjourned until 6 o'clock.
Great, thank you.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. The Select Board is called back to order. Next item on the agenda is a joint session with the Recreation Commission to interview candidates for the vacancy on the Recreation Commission. Candidates include tonight Lauren Davalla, Matthew LeBretton, and Melissa Sadler. Before I continue, I'm going to turn it over to the Rec Chair to call her meeting to order.
Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate it. We have a quorum, so I will just introduce. I'm Vicki Donlin, the Chair of the Rec Commission.
I'm Adrienne Ramsey.
Steve Buckley.
Ryan Lynch.
And our members are all here. We're ready to interview our candidates. So thank you very much. We'll call our meeting to order.
Well, before I begin, I am going to take just a quick moment to enjoy this, leading this meeting with Adrian here, because at my house, I'm not in charge of anything. Might be a one and done tonight, but I'm going to enjoy this moment for a second. Okay, so this is what I propose we do this evening. What I'm going to do is we'll take the candidates in order, in alphabetical order by last name. So Lauren, you're going to go first. So I'd ask the other candidates to wait outside. And so what I'd like to do is we'll just go down the line. Is you okay with that, Vicki?
Absolutely.
And then I'm going to give each board member one question. What I'd ask you to do is whatever question you decide to ask, that you ask all applicants the same question, to be fair. So every applicant will get the same question, have the opportunity to answer it. We'll go down the line. Everybody can ask one. If anybody has a pressing concerned to ask a second question, we can entertain that as well, but I figure with 7 of us here, that probably should be sufficient.
Thank you.
Okay? All right. So Missy, if you don't mind stepping outside, and we'll get you in here in a couple minutes. Yeah, so where should we, do you mind going up to the mic and standing? Do you mind standing? And, okay. All right. Hi, Lauren, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself on the record, state your name and address?
Lauren Davalla, 98 Black Rock Drive.
All right, well, welcome and appreciate your interest in the vacancy. All right. So, do you want to, why don't we just start off? Brian, you can go first.
Yeah, the most basic question is, Laura, why do you want to serve on the rec commission?
Well, I want to serve on the Rec Commission because I've been in Hingham for 10 and a half years. First as a young married couple, and now as a mother of 3 kids with my husband also in town. And I've really been able to experience all the recreation programs through those, years, starting at the country club with golf lessons, and now my kids are my daughter's going into the 4th year of Monkey Feet this year, which is so crazy to me. But yeah, I'd love to be a part of it and help keep pushing it forward.
I was just wondering, is there any specific interest that you have or area of expertise do you think that you might bring to the Rec Commission?
Absolutely. So I have a background in corporate communications. I have a bachelor's degree from Fordham University and then a master's degree also in public communications from Fordham. So as part of my job, I actually came to meetings like this on behalf of my clients and saw really how town meetings work. And now as a mother, I attend school committee meetings. I'm really active I was in the newcomers board, Wilder board. I'm really co-chairing 2 committees on the PTO for PRS this year. And I am a member at BlackRock, where we have a lot of very similar programming. So I think, the upgrades to the rec website, for example, have been great to see, have been really helpful kind of as a constituent, but just really offering those services as somebody who can continue to find ways to communicate to the community really well, make sure people are utilizing the programming really well, and kind of troubleshoot there. It's just something that I think with social media, local media really changing a lot, I think that is something that's going to be really on the forefront for the Rec Commission moving forward.
Thank you.
Lauren, as you know, I've seen you on many a field over the years. There's a lot of resources that Hingham has. So what are some of the resources that perhaps Hingham has that you see that the rec department isn't using or could use more of, to be able to support the recreational programs of residents?
Sure. So in addition to my other community experiences, I also sat on the board of the Maritime Center pre-COVID, where most of the fundraising efforts had to take a halt. But that, for example, the harbor, right, is such a great resource that aside from doing yoga, on the field, there are so many other opportunities there to partner with the Maritime Center, which is fledgling a little bit, to be blunt. They obviously partner with the schools, but there are just a lot of opportunities with that. Private clubs like BlackRock or Boston Golf being able to use some of their resources as they should, given the, tax breaks that they get from the town. They could certainly, in addition to welcoming their high school teams on the courses, certainly allowing other programming also. In addition to that, from the field study and reviewing everything that was pulled from that, which was just so fascinating to read, taking a look at what some of the other towns are doing, Needham and the other schools that were mentioned in the study, there are certainly opportunities to continue to utilize our fields and also make sure we're not killing off the grass and maintaining the turf and doing all the things that the field study suggested as well.
Thank you.
So I have a question. If you were given a crystal ball, you clearly have some background in what the Recreation Commission is doing. What would you see as perhaps a long-term goal? And I don't expect it to be, fully fledged out, but if you could have a crystal ball, what would it be that the Recreation Commission might be able to do in the, I'll say, short-term future?
Short-term future, it would be great to see the Recreation Commission in Hingham achieve kind of full independence in terms of, using really the pool and the country club as its flagship. Having active youth swim programs similar to what they do at Connell, but even really better youth swim teams. Having really a home base for the families in town, I think is going to be huge. And obviously that's on the forefront and very exciting for everybody. So my crystal ball is seeing a lot happening down there on South Street.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, thank you, and thank you for putting your name in the hat here. We appreciate it. Just to shift gears a little bit, in addition to the programming focused on children, certainly you know we have a growing senior population in town. What are some things that you think the rec commission or rec department can do to support that population?
Sure. Well, certainly pickle, right, has become such a, just from my my PR background, right, like that is such a buzz term right now. 31 tennis courts in town. I mean, they really need to be utilizing those to organize pickle leagues, some instruction. I know Phil can teach that a little bit. In addition to that, I know the community center is doing, for example, free programming for 65 plus moving forward, which I think is a great asset. You know, if we can offer, you know, Linden Ponds residents or other, you know, taxpayers in the community an opportunity to at least try for free, I think that could really benefit that part of the community.
Excellent, thank you.
Welcome.
Joe?
You know, I'm a racquetball player, and this pickle thing is just taking over. I don't know what's going on. Part of the mission of the rec center is, and it's on the website, is to be self-sustaining and not reliant on taxpayers for operational expenses. How would you see what you can contribute to achieving that goal? How would you help the commission be more self-sustaining and not reliant on taxpayer revenue?
So I think it's kind of going back to Adrian's question of utilizing what's here, right, and not having to rely on renting spaces, you know, taking advantage of like the new buildings that are going to be happening. Foster's new campus will have some opportunity there too, and really making sure that the other entities in town that are using the facilities and using the fields are doing so in a really, you know, the field, the policies that were put in place, I think really helps, because you're making sure they're leaving it better than they found it, right? You're making sure that they're, you know, keeping track of how it's being used and not overused. So that's a big part of making sure that it is sustainable on the long term. And then asking, frankly, for corporate support and sponsorship. It's something we did with the Maritime Center, giving organizations an opportunity to sponsor fields or to sponsor capital campaign contributions. I think that's a big asset opportunity, and people that genuinely want to help but maybe don't know what the needs are.
Thank you.
Lauren, what are ways that you feel the Recreation Department can collaborate with other town boards and departments?
Oh, well, within Hingham, you mean? Well, there's so much of that going on right now, obviously. I know that, you know, the Rec Commission works hand in hand with School Committee in a lot of the planning and execution of the maintenance of those, the fields and like we said, the tennis courts. I think that the environmental committee could be really helpful there, making sure that we're not using pesticides and that kind of thing, the sustainability. So I think it's just really maintaining those relationships, attending other board meetings, and making sure that, you know, as a committee and a commission, that we're, you know, top of mind when people are making decisions that affect the whole town.
Great. Well, if you want to say something about yourself or in closing that, you know, we didn't touch on with our questions, feel free.
Sure. So I'm really eager to get involved. Like I said, I've been very casually involved in consulting with School Committee and other entities in town, and I am excited about this opportunity. I would work really hard. I'm making time for it. My littlest is starting kindergarten in September, so I have an eye on utilizing my time in a way that's giving back to the town that we've loved living in for almost 11 years. So thank you so much.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, Lauren, thanks very much.
Thank you. Are you?
I'm going to invite her to stay if she'd like.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
You've already heard the question, so you're welcome to stay in the gallery if you'd like. And, yeah.
I don't know if that'd be awkward for
But it's a public meeting, you're welcome to stay, or you could leave if you want.
Okay.
Well, if you want to wait outside, I'd get that. Why don't you wait outside, we'll call you back in when we're done.
Right.
How's that sound?
Thank
Okay.
you, Lauren.
Yeah, that
Appreciate
sounds
it.
good. Mark, would you mind seeing if Matt LeBretton is outside? And if he's not here yet, just invite Missy in.
Sure.
Hey, Missy. We're gonna have you come up to the mic, if you don't mind.
I can do that. I have these for you guys.
Oh, great.
Don't really know me.
Yeah, I do.
You do.
I do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, welcome, Missy. Thanks for your application and interest in filling the vacancy.
Of course.
If you could just start off by stating your name and address.
Sure. My name is Missy Sadler. I live at 28 Highview Drive in Hingham, Mass.
Great. And we'll start with Ryan.
Yeah, going first, I have the easiest question. Why is it that you want to serve on the rec commission?
You know, I'm really happy, just first off, that we live in Hingham. My husband's family's from Hingham, and the stars aligned for us about 1.5 years ago. We were able to move here. And the rec department commission personally is really important to me because growing up as one of 6 kids, we moved around a lot, and we relied on towns to have like these successful organizations like you guys have. And I'm just very passionate about the town, about the field, about the athletics. I'm very involved, and you know, I think it's just key. It's the cornerstone to the community, what you guys do and what Mark and the team does, the programs, just bringing the community together. It was a big part of my life growing up, and it's a big part of my kids' life. I'm still involved with Phil and tennis, and it's just a great organization to be a part of.
Before I ask my question, I noticed on your resume, your occupation, CEO of the Sadler household.
Yes.
I used to have that job, and there was my daughter turned 14, there was a hostile takeover. So get ready.
Yeah, I can already see it.
My question is, what do you think your experience or an area of expertise that you might have that would bring a positive influence to
Sure.
the rec commission?
Yeah, I'm a real sort of roll up your sleeves, get things done kind of person, and you know, kind of see a problem, fix a problem. I've had a lot of experience in sales at EMC, in my own house, you know, at the school. And you know, one of the things, I'll give you a specific example, is we moved here about 1.5 years ago, and one of the things I noticed right away was, from where we lived in Medfield, was I was at all the fields, I was coaching, and there weren't any bathrooms. And I was shocked. I was like, I don't understand. So I did some diligence. Some of you got letters. And I understood that the reason why is because that there was no language on the field permits that required bathrooms and porta potties to be at these fields. So you ask, you know, what can I do to help move the ball forward? Is I just kind of took it on my own I called about 13 other rec departments in the South Shore, talked to all the directors, found out what their policy was on providing bathrooms at the athletic fields, and dive bombed a lot of the rec commission calls, and kind of got myself on the agenda, and we worked through it. And the timing was actually great because at the same time, you guys were centralizing management of the field, so you needed a new field permit as well. So we did a lot of back and forth, and with your support and with Mark's support, if you look out at the fields in Hingham, there is not one field that does not have a porta potty. And when I tell you that makes me smile, it makes me smile because as a coach of coaching these young kids and parents and spectators, it's like no one wants to use a porta potty, but it's nice to know that it's there should you need it. So, like I said, I see a problem, fix a problem. Like I just, you know, I'm here to get things done when it's right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, Missy. It's funny to think that we met over the porta potty.
Yes, I know.
Most people can't say that. But my question really is kind of, you know, thinking about some of the resources we have here in the town of Hingham. And so we're one department serving a lot of people, a lot of different ages and so forth. So what are some of the resources that you see in town that we perhaps are not utilizing, or maybe some of the resources in town that we have that we are utilizing, but we're just kind of scratching the surface, and what can we do better?
Yeah, well, you know, seeing other towns and how they've operated, and, you know, I'm not saying I have a magic suitcase full of hot ideas, but, you know, some resources that you've tapped into, you know, combining, you guys have done a lot of that in the last year, just the DPW, centralizing the management, taking it over from some of the school committee and the school boards and all the acts. I mean, what you guys have done with the resources you've had has been remarkable in the past year. I've seen a massive improvement. So as far as tapping into resources, I know you guys are self-funded and you don't like to ask for money. I think a resource that could be accessible to the rec is there's not one particular place that you can get Hingham gear. There's disparate online stores for the school sports. There's some of the local elementary schools run their own sort of onesie twosies, but I think if the Hingham rec or the town of Hingham via the rec could post an online store for Hingham using Goodwin Graphics, local graphic designers like Michelle Freedom that are happy to help, I think we could create a massive awareness to the rec and drive money at the same time to bring in, you know, help fundraising to do some projects, you know, resources that I think, you know, a lot of things take money. You know, I'd love to see, you know, where I grew up, there was a big centralized, you know, kind of like Lynch, but, you know, if you picture like the big concessions, all the fields that, you know, are around it, you see other towns that have, you know, the facilities and all this space to do their programs. We don't necessarily have that space, but are there resources in the town we're not tapping into to maximize the space for the fields that we're outgrowing our fields? I'd see it in the young K through 2 space. I don't know, I mean, if you guys, how you benchmark yourselves against the other towns' rec departments and how you kind of measure that, but I just feel like as a coach of some of these younger programs, some of them equitable, to have better space for the younger groups. I think, you know, it's kind of great once you get to middle school, but before then it's pretty squished.
Missy, I know you want to take credit for dive bombing the rec commission, but we've had people who did a much better job than you, even in the last meeting. So, and those are the ones who are X-rated. So we were very appreciative of your dive bombing our meetings, I promise you. Anyway, with
really
that
bad last
said,
meeting.
yes,
It was
that
really
was very bad last meeting.
She means
Oh,
Zoom
yes,
bombing.
yes, yes. Zoom
someone
bomb,
that's-
whatever,
Oh,
a little
okay.
bit different.
Got it.
Anyway, your comments were always appreciated, so thank you for dialing in during Zoom. Anyway, you sort of answered this in your last answer, but you clearly are someone who looks at the big picture. So my question is, if you had a crystal ball and you could ask for anything that the Rec Commission might look forward to in the future, is there something in your short time of living here that you would see that the Rec Commission should really focus on and perhaps attain?
Is the crystal ball full of an endless money?
Endless money, because we're sitting next to the money right here. Endless, I promise.
I mean, I would want, you know,
amazing.
A sports complex, a massive sports complex, where you have all the little league fields, where you have state-of-the-art softball fields, where we're not at East School trying to teach K through 2 girls how to play softball in a bunch of grass and weeds, right? I mean, you live in Hingham, you look at the tax, you look at what we're doing, and I'm trying to teach 5- and 6-year-olds how to play softball when we have grass up to our ankles and like the dirt and the, you know. So if I had to paint a crystal ball, I wouldn't want us to have to share all these fields and push us, all the little kindergartners, into the tiny Cronin field where we're smashed up against each other. There's no lines. We're losing balls in other fields. I'd want space. We need space. We need a lot more space for the minors specifically, for the T-ball, for the little leagues. So if I had a crystal ball, I'd build a massive sports complex for the minors division, give these kids first experience in the actual playing baseball and softball that's not grass and that there are bases and there is dirt and this is how we play. I'd want bathhouses at every field, not porta potties. I just think it's 2022. You go to some of the other towns and it's like, I wonder what they think when they come here sometimes when it's like, wow, like we can really build this place up. Again, I know space is but I would blow it up. Bigger, better, more fields.
Appreciate it. On to you, Liz.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for applying for this position and all that you do already for youth sports. Switching gears a little bit, how do you think the rec department can serve our growing senior population in town?
Well, I guess I'd ask the seniors. I don't have a lot of insight into that population. Mine ends with kind of my mother-in-law, who's in her 70s. But I think, you're doing a lot of great, don't tell Francesca that, she's not in her 70s yet. I think there's a lot of great activities. I mean, pickleball is taking off. I know a lot of people that go to pickles to play that. I think, looking at my own parents who are in their 70s, my dad's heavy into golf, my mom's into pickleball, but you guys have golf, you have pickleball. I think it would just be creating a forum with that age group, whether it's going to some of the senior citizen homes or where they're, that, if you're going to that, level of it, or if you're looking at people in their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, just find a population and talk to them.
Excellent, thank you.
Missy, what are ways that you feel the Recreation Department can collaborate with other town boards and departments?
Oh, just pick up the phone. That's where it starts, right? I don't know what the current commission and what the board is doing, so I can't speak to what you guys are already doing. I know when I personally picked up the phone and called every single one of them, the cross 12 towns, they were very accessible, they were very friendly, they have a lot of good insight and a lot of good input. And I think their strength in numbers, I think we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can create, like we do with the PTO. We have PTO meetings with all the PTO presidents across the entire school system. Sometimes it gets competitive and people want to be better and they want to be the best, but it's like, we're all for one for all. Like, we're here to serve our community, we're here to serve the kids, we're here to serve the, the elderly, the senior citizen population. So why are we not working together, is what I would ask.
Thank you.
We're not.
So my question, which you've already answered, I think, in great detail, I was going to ask about how you would address and improve the Rec Commission's being self-sustaining and not reliant on taxpayer revenue for its operational expense. You've already talked about maybe doing a store. You've given some ideas. So I'm going to change my question since I think you've answered that.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask you to address a different population. To what extent do you think the recreation serves and needs to improve its service for those with special needs or who have handicaps?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of my friends her dad was a doctor at Tufts, she runs the disability organization across America, and I see what she does. I see Special Olympics along the coast that do surfing for special needs. It's a huge organization, and it's wonderful to see from all different disabilities as they, with all the access we have to the waterfront and the surf lessons that happen in Hull and along the coast. I don't know if they do something with special needs, but they do it in Kennebunkport every year, and the whole town comes together. They come to the beach, and they have professional surfers, they have instructors, and they have all the equipment, that some people can't move. They're paralyzed, so they're carried in and they're in the water, and just seeing these people in the water, it'll bring tears to your eyes. It's just that unbelievable. That one idea where we have access to water, that just comes to mind because that's something we could actually do. I don't have enough experience in what you actually do right today with special needs, so I guess I'd have to learn a little bit more about what happens today, but that just comes to mind thinking water is a real healing process for a lot of people.
Great. Thank you.
All right, Missy, do you want to take a minute or so to touch on anything in closing that we didn't cover, or anything that you want to tell us about?
Sure. It's no joke that I'm a passionate person. I love to get involved. I've been here a year and a half, and I'm actively coaching. I'm a substitute, taking on the PTO presidency for Foster next year, which I'm really excited about. We have a great crew.
Thank
you. I know this is a short-term position. You're looking for a short-term fill, but I'm here for the long haul. My kids are 5 and 6. I really care about athletics. I played athletics in college at the Division I level. I know what it takes. I love to see how important sports in the community and all the programs you guys offer are in shaping young minds, as well as keeping the rest of the community safe, happy, and healthy. And I know you guys want to be the best recreation program in the region, and I believe I can help you guys get there if you give me a shot.
Thank you.
Great, well,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
we have one last applicant. You're welcome to either step back outside or remain in the room. You've heard the questions already, so it's totally up to you. Okay, but thank you, Missy. And if you could get,
And if you do leave, we're going to ask all
yeah,
candidates
we're
to
gonna have you come back in. So if you stay, we'll have you come back in and let you know where we're gonna go next with you. Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Missy. All right, Matt, how are you? If you could step up to the podium. Welcome. All right, Matt, good evening, and thank you for your application. You're interested in filling the vacancy on the rec department. If you could just start off by stating your name and address.
Sure, Matthew LeBretton, 8 Volunteer Road in Hingham.
Great. Ryan?
Thanks, Matt. I get the first question. Easiest one out of the gate. Why do you want to serve on the rec commission?
Well, the Rec Commission, what the town does, I mean, first thing is about service in our community, right? People give back, and to have an opportunity to give back also in an area that impacts people from, 2 to 99, right? This isn't just about sports and kids. It's about recreation and kids, families, seniors, the whole 9 yards, and to be able to play a direct role in making more opportunities available for residents across the spectrum, for fun, for play, for recreating, for engagement. To me, it's just something that seems really compelling. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, Steve
Hi,
Buckley.
Steve, how are you?
Good, how are you? Just wanted to know, it's quite a resume you have, a lot of stuff there.
Thank you.
Revolving around sports and recreation already. Just wondering what you think you bring, specifically your interest in maybe an area of expertise that you think would directly be a positive influence on the rec commission, what we do with the rec commission.
Well, thank you. I think for me, one of the most important things that I do in my life is coach and be involved in my kids' lives, right? So again, to me, this isn't recreation. Some people think it's just sports. You all know this is more than just sports. But having had the opportunity to be great coordinators through different things, through flag football and others, through coaching in football, flag football, soccer, all these, but also being involved with something like the company theater, and when my daughter was involved with the arts program downtown. I think my experience of sort of straddling two worlds there, both the arts and sports, would be an asset and as a benefit and something maybe a little bit unique to what I'm bringing. I'm also, I like to think that I have a unique perspective on certain things, and I'm not shy in trying to share or work with folks to come to common ground. So I think I could help play a role there. Not that there's a lot of disunity on the Recreation Commission. I think that's it. But there's, anytime there's an opportunity to have a positive impact, I love to see things through. I love to have that communication, to have the back and forth, and see different perspectives on things, and sort of help to bring those conversations to the forefront. So I think that'd be fun for me, anyways.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Staff might not love that, but that would be fun for me.
Matt, one of the great things about the recreation department, as you kind of mentioned, is arts, it's sports, so many different things, so many different populations. We, at the town of Hingham, have the opportunity to have many resources across town, whether they be physical resources, like this actual building, or whether it be natural resources that are out there. So what are some resources in Hingham that you may see as being ones that we can either more utilize or ones that we can better utilize?
Well, I mean, I think the resources that we have in our community, the number one thing we have is our people. So to the extent that we can use and work with more groups, different groups across the spectrum, to bring in these different perspectives that we talked about earlier, and to remember that someone who's in their 80s and retired might want to have a dance program and seek those folks out, and to do those different things from an intellectual property perspective, not intellectual property, but intellectual. That's not a physical space, but from a mental property space, I think is what I want to say. And then from our actual, our fields, we've got some great locations. We do some great things here. We have not just, you said, this building, but the courts behind us, and the different fields throughout town, and finding ways to use that space as much as possible, and keeping them open and moving forward. And look, we're going to have our challenges as a community. I think being able to work, within our town governance and work with other folks, we have an affordable housing issue. I know that affordable housing coming up in a rec commission committee is a little bit far afield, but when we look at people talk about wanting more fields, more recreation space, we also have to do that in conjunction with thinking of things like affordable housing in our community and working with other departments and other folks in government. So I don't know if I'm fully answering your question here, but we have a lot of valuable assets in our community that we have to manage appropriately. We also, I think there's going to be an evolving face to what recreation looks like as our population changes. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities and a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to look at things in the near and far term.
Thank you very much.
So now that I'm asking this question for the third time, I want to be clear as the chair of the rec department for 9 years that I know we're a self-funded organization. But if you had a crystal ball, and because I know that you're very well aware of Hingham, and you could look out and say, there's one thing I'd like to see the Recreation Commission do, and it's not about how much it costs, but what we could do in the Recreation Commission. What would you put in your crystal ball?
That's a really good question, and I have.
It's a good question.
Yeah. See, I'm buttering you up as the chair. One thing, I think perhaps maybe getting people to understand some of the benefits and limitations we have. You run around town, people talk all the time about, I guess I should answer this two ways. One thing that I think it would be great for people to understand, you can't turf every field. We don't have the ability to do all those things. But I think if I could do one thing, if money was not an issue, maybe it would be turf every field we can turf, and bring lights to every field we could bring lights to that makes sense from a resident's perspective. And just to provide that open play space, or recreating space, whether it be a field or in a building, just to be able to continue to give access to programmatic materials and increase the amount of programs we have and the people that participate in them. I think that would be a wonderful thing. We're a great community where those who do take part really get a sense of that. But I think if we could up engagement, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Matt, for applying, and thank you for all that you do already in the community. You have quite an extensive resume of coaching.
Not winning, you said, coaching.
I did say coaching, not winning, but
Thank you.
there have been a lot of wins too. But just my question focuses on the senior population, which I know you mentioned, kind of serving all residents of all ages, all demographics when you first started. But could you just speak a little more to that, how you see the rec department serving our growing senior population in town?
Sure. I mean, I think it's really vital. I think we're going to have a growing senior population. It's going to change. Baby boomers coming up, and we're going to have fewer kids, right? I mean, that's what we're seeing from a population trend perspective. So being able to afford opportunities for seniors across the spectrum is going to be a difficult challenge, I think, for the community, just from a space perspective. So I know that the commission for at least last 9 years has done a really good job of trying to open up things for seniors across the community. But I think we needed to really look at what those offerings will be. With the new senior center coming on board, hopefully, coming on board in town, there's still probably going to be a need for more space. So it's going to take a real collaborative approach in dealing and working with seniors to make sure that they're out and moving. And with every passing moment, I'm getting closer and closer to being a senior myself. So to have these things open.
Excellent. Thank you.
I feel like a bad debate candidate right now. I'm sweating.
It's hot in
So,
here.
Matt, I'm going to shift from seniors to those with special needs, disabilities. To what extent do you think the commission currently serves their needs, and to what extent would you move to improve it?
So I think from what I've seen, I think the commission's doing a good job. And again, this is a collaborative, with SNAP and other things. There's just a story in the Hingham Anchor about 3 local special needs kids who went on to medal in I think they were the regional Special Olympics. I mean, that's an impressive, amazing story. We want to foster that. This goes back to what we are as a community and having this engagement. So, we're big supporters of SNAP in my family, and it goes back. We support SNAP in general, but the Jess Adams Scholarship Fund there as well. Whatever we can do to keep that population engaged and active and moving, I think is really wonderful. And I don't know necessarily what the plan is today in place to do that. I think it's pretty good. I think as a community, we have a very good track record of having an inclusive recreation department and programmatic offerings. But whatever we can do to increase that, I'd be in favor of. Provided, going back to what the chair said earlier, so long as money's not an object, I would do everything we can to keep that moving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, what are ways that you feel the Recreation Department can collaborate with other town boards and departments?
Well, I think communication is key. I think we see a lot of that today. And I think we have such an engaged community. My wife, Michelle, is on the board of Hingham Little League, for example. And just this past weekend, we had All-Star Weekend, which was kind of, we were there all day Saturday. We had an event Friday night. My son wasn't an All-Star, and we were still at the All-Star games all day Saturday, but he's an All-Star in my but, taking HLL and working with the rec, there's so much that comes together with that already. And there, we had a special needs child from Snap who threw out the first pitch for the Major League All-Star game. So, and the rec department played a huge role in making sure that all came together and worked out seamlessly. That needs to continue, and I think the staff has done a terrific job with the commission's leadership in terms of working with and communicating throughout the town to bring to light the various offerings and the limitations we have. So I'd love to do what I can to continue to foster that type of readily available communication across the boards. There's people don't, frankly, maybe I didn't really fully understand it a year or two ago, how many different committees, departments, people are engaged and involved in making a single decision. And so continuing to move that ball forward and do it in a collaborative, open, friendly, positive way, because we're all working towards the same goal, to make Hingham the best Hingham it can be. So I think that to me is key for what you asked.
Well, Matt, great job. If you'd like to just take a minute or two just to do a brief closing on anything that we didn't get to or something about yourself that you might think we should know.
Well, thank you for having me here. Thank you for the opportunity to submit to the Talent Bank. I think that program in and of itself is just another thing that we just talked about that fosters engagement. I don't know, I feel like a lot of people know a lot of things about me from recent experiences. But I am, I love what we do as a town. I love the opportunity. Last fall, so in the fall, I coordinate flag football, coach 2 flag football teams, coach tackle. I spent 6 out of 7 days a week at Lynch Field. I'm familiar with these fields and how they operate, how they work, and their usage. I think that can be although it may be some duplicative with some of the other folks that are on the board, but I can add a voice to what that means to really use these different fields. I drive by the lacrosse field every day. My daughter is on the high school tennis team, so we're in the courts over here. We are immersed in our town and in our culture in our town, and just continuing to foster that in any way I can would be a goal of mine. So thank you, and I'm happy to take any other questions if that's what you'd like or if that's allowed.
You were off the hook. Thank you. But if you could have a seat, we're going to talk about the next steps here. Mark, could you mind getting Lauren and Missy?
That's right.
Couple years on Zoom, it was nice.
That's right, that's right.
Laura, Missy, welcome back. I want to thank all 3 of you for your answers this evening. Let me just ask Vicki and the Rec Commission, everybody else, what would you like to do? We've heard from 3 great candidates tonight. Normally, what we do is we take a week to consider the application, to consider the answers we heard tonight, and we reconvene usually a week later and take the vote. How do people feel about that?
I would like to open the slots. We have 3 slots so that we can get all 3 candidates here, because, you were all so excellent.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. Impressive beyond measure, so thank you. But I think I'd like to take a week to consider, because we really do have exceptional candidates here.
Yes, I agree, taking a week. And I hope if it doesn't work out with Rec Commission, that maybe you'll consider something else, because we would love to have you help serve the town.
But I like to say we're also an elected board, so there is an election every year. So I would also think that it's a good idea for us to take a week so that we can think about this and come back and be able to vote fairly. But I do remind you all, it's an elected board, and every year we're our 5-year term, and I know this is a filling of 1 year. 1 year, correct? And then there'll be an election next year. So whatever the decision is, that doesn't mean you can't get your sign, and you all have kids, so it's looks like this, and it's got markers on it, and it says for Rec Commission. So anyway, thank you very much. We really appreciate your being here. You are all phenomenal. Thank you very much.
Adrian, your thoughts?
I agree. I'd like to take 1 week as well.
All right. Steve?
Same.
We're all in agreement.
All right, it's unanimous.
Excellent.
All right. So, are you all available next week? We meet every Tuesday night.
Yes.
So, we
Yes.
generally hold Tuesday. Okay. So what I would ask, maybe Tom, what you could do is put this high on the agenda.
Sure.
Maybe right at our,
beginning.
right at the beginning of the meeting. That way you can come early and leave early, have to wait. And if your applicants, if you want to come as well, you can come early and don't need to wait around either to listen to some of the other stuff we do that might not be so exciting, so.
Oh, do you want us to come?
You don't have to. You don't, we'll notify you if you don't have, yeah. But
So-
but we will take a formal vote.
So
Yeah.
often candidates don't come for the follow-up, so it will not be held against you. If you don't show up, please understand that.
Yeah.
You actually can watch it on television. Yeah, because we'll be on television.
We've got 3 viewers. That's right.
All right, so we will take this matter up a week from, so I'm sorry, it'll be on June 28th?
Yes.
Early on our agenda, and we will let you know the time and the agenda time, okay. So with that, Vicki, if you want to adjourn your board?
Yes, we take a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
very much.
Good to see
Thank you very
everybody again.
much.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Great job, thank you.
So Francesca's your mother-in-law? So did you know John before he died?
It doesn't have to
Oh,
Yeah, so I married Steve.
okay.
and I can just send it over
Yes,
to him.
yes, okay. Oh, my God.
She said you were, how was the wedding?
We have a couple more items if you don't mind. Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
talk
so
later.
sorry.
Okay.
But you're on
Thanks.
TV.
Yeah, you're on TV, yeah.
Thank you, nice meeting you.
Adrian, could you shut that door on the way out? Yeah. Oh. All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment. There's no one here to participate in public comment. So I would next move to our final item, which is a joint executive session with the school committee, personnel board, and advisory committee to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the school department, collective bargaining units under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, because discussion in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town. The board will not return to open session. So I've been told that this needs to be made by roll call vote because we're moving to executive session. So I would make a motion to move to executive session.
Second.
All's in favor by roll call vote? Joe?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. The motion carries unanimously. Hope everybody has a good evening. See you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Great,
Thank you.